Get ready, Staten Island.
The Ferry Hawks are back at SIUH Community Park July 7th to the 12th for a 6-game series against the High Point Rockers. Wednesday, July 8th with first pitch at 6:30. It's Woo Wednesday in collaboration with the Wu-Tang Clan. The Ferry Hawks transform into the Shaolin Hawks. Thursday, July 9th, first pitch is at 6:30. It's Thirsty Thursday with $5 Bud and Bud Light drafts.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yeah, I mean, I refuse to overlook that. But honestly, I would really call Bernie Sanders to apologize for pushing this kind of predator more than anyone he helped him elect, and now apologize to the victims, especially the woman that she claimed that he raped her. So I don't know why you want to keep pushing these kinds of people. Maybe he should consider set a few out and stop pushing these kind of communists and people. And now people, like P. Hustle now, he has been credibly accused of rape. And that's fairly recent, too. That was only less than 5 years ago.
P. Hustle. That was Senator John Fetterman calling out his independent colleague in the Senate, Bernie Sanders. So many others have done a double take and about face, about March, reverse March, pretend I never said it since yesterday afternoon about this time when the story broke. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Tuesday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, fastest hour in American media. You all know what has happened with Graham. Keep the music going. Let's refresh ourselves from Senator Elizabeth Warren. From Massachusetts, that would be cut 10. Dear old Lizzie, the woman, yeah.
I am here because Washington needs fighters, and Graham Plattner is the fighter we need.
He's the fighter we need.
You bet. I said to myself, that's my kind of man.
That's my kind of man.
Because that is a man who not only has the values, but a man who believes in accountability. And we need a little accountability coming out of Washington right now. We need Graham Plattner to come in and get rid of the corruption in Washington. Time for new laws.
Yeah, we need my kind of man, Graham Plattner. She, by the way, is among the other, how shall we describe them? Demo rats fleeing the sinking ship of Plattner today. She's called for him to step down. You gotta love these people. Even on CNN's Abby show, Abby usually goes out of her way to take the Democrat Party side. It's CNN. You expect that from Abby. I'm not mad at Abby for that. That's who she is. That's what CNN is. But even Abby... 14. Let the music play. Let's listen to Abby.
There is an issue here with a lot of very prominent Democrats, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, two among them, who basically turned the other way at the first set of allegations. Why does it take a sexual assault allegation?
Right. To that point, I heard Senator Kirsten Gillibrand speak at the Aspen Institute last week. And when Graham Plattner came up, all she had to say was that he was a strong candidate and was going to, soar to a victory. There was no even an acknowledgement of the New York Times report of the Nazi tattoo. And if you all will remember, this is the same senator who was called the Me Too senator, in part because she led the charge against Al Franken in the Senate. She very much was instrumental in pushing that culture forward, and I think Me Too was necessary in a lot of ways, but we didn't need a rape allegation to know that Graham Plattner had already allegedly violated the standards that she set, and she was willing to sacrifice all her principles among many other Democrats to go up against arguably the most moderate Republican in the Senate, Susan Collins, who's already willing to go up against Trump. This is not some super partisan person.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, they're all gone today. Now Democrats are fighting, ladies and gentlemen. Here's New York Times. Democrats begin clash over who replaces Plantner even before he exits. He hasn't officially gone yet, and they're already like vultures over the carcass trying to pick the meat to get there. And then say, well, who's next? We got this one. Let's strip the carcass down and then look for our next prey. Democrats are amazing. Progressives and moderates are gearing up for a fight over an as-yet undecided process in May. Oh, that's the other thing. They're all scared S-less, figure out that. They're all scared S-less to do a Biden again. They don't want to... They don't want a coronation again. They don't want an anointment again. And then I'm reading for people that are saying, well, you know, this is all unprecedented. We're in uncharted. No, you're not. Does anybody remember the torch? If I say the torch, Carlos just looked at me, who? The torch. Do you know what, Carlos, you know what I'm talking about when I say the torch?
The Olympics.
Nope. TJ, you have any idea who I'm referring to when I say the torch? Nope. Well, that's why I'm the host. The torch would be the nickname given to Senator Robert Torricelli of New Jersey. Now, Torricelli, you don't even remember him. This goes back. Torricelli of New Jersey, very popular senator in New Jersey. In fact, I met him at a garden.
Actually.
Yeah, you never heard of him. I met him in the garden center. I was living in New Jersey at the time. I was hanging out at the garden center. I bought a hibiscus plant that day. And the torch was walking around the garden center, and I spoke to him. Anyway, Robert Torricelli was a very popular Democrat. Now, the Torricelli also took stuff from people, took a lot of stuff. In fact, Rush used to play this clip of as they rolled out the indictment on Torricelli of all the stuff that he was alleged to have taken. A gold watch, this, that, a TV, this, that. Anyway, the torch stood on the Senate floor, denied all the charges, yelled and screamed, I never took it. Anyway, it was close to election time, like it is now. New Jersey had a rule that you couldn't replace the person on the ballot because of time considerations. The same way that if Plantner doesn't get out by the 13th of July, then it's too late to get him off the ballot. So that's why a lot of people believe everything is dropping right now. Get him off before that date so they can put somebody else in there. But New Jersey had a rule. It was already past the time. The Democrats got rid of Torch. They got rid of him, and they put someone else anyway. The courts just said, screw the law. He's a Democrat. We'll let it go. As they always do. So, the torch, Robert Torres, so this is not new ground. This is the way Democrats do things in Democrat states. But Democrats, including Chuck U. Schumer of New York, who endorsed him. Oh, and then there's Ro Kahana. Ruh-roh. Oh, Ro is out now pretending that Ro is one of his biggest advocates. And Ruh-roh has turned on him too. He's got to step down. Oh, this is, as long as, look, you had every high-level Democrat you can think of, including Jewish members of the elected Democrat Party, who, it boggles the mind that you would have a guy who lied about his knowledge of having an SS, the Totenkopf, the SS tattoo on his chest. But that didn't stop Democrats from endorsing the guy. And now, all of a sudden, well, this is a bridge too far. They knew. It's just like what's his face? You already forget his name because he's been gone now and people don't even remember him. A good old Eric Swalwell. Remember him? Carlos is, yeah, from California, Kate. Eric Swalwell. Everybody knew. They knew. But now it's a bridge too far. It is stunning. 13, let's go back to Abby. Here is Abby Phillip on CNN last night, and this is more of the discussion from the Abby presentation.
And it's been interesting to see some of those people who dragged this woman who was in the Lindsay Fiffield, who was in the New York Times story. They called it uncorroborated claims. Another person basically said that she was essentially a plant of the Republican Party. And now those people have changed their tune. But I also think, is there an apology that needs to be had here? Yes. And some soul searching that needs to be had here? Is it enough to just say, well, this woman, I believe, I didn't believe the last one. And Lindsay Fiffield pointed out to Ruben Gallego, mine weren't sufficiently troubling or serious for you. After that first allegation, it is fair to ask, what's up with people who have to look at the partisan identification next to your name before they decide whether or not they're going to listen to you?
The belief.
What's up with Democrats who did this? Is the real question. Not that there's, not for nothing, not that there's no garbage happening, that there isn't any garbage happening on the Republican side. Let me just quickly say this and get it out of the way. Yesterday afternoon, a well-known so-called conservative influencer posted on X that Mitch McConnell's brain dead. And she apparently supposedly got the information from high-level White House sources. Today, Scott Jennings, and there's a story in the Hill now about others who have talked to Mitch McConnell. Apparently, he's not brain dead. So now you have every jackass that wants to be a political pundit / journalist on the crazy kook version of the right, suggesting that Scott Jennings is lying. One guy, for instance, how do you have a conversation and not have taped it? Release the tapes. It's like, what kind of total 100% idiocy is this? Scott Jennings is one of the most articulate, reasonable, well-versed in policy, well-versed in presentation. Aside from that, decent human beings on the conservative side. And you have people attacking him because he said he talked to Mitch McConnell for about 20 minutes. And you have others now who are saying that they've talked with McConnell as well. That hasn't stopped the source of all this from going out and saying, well, this is all a conspiracy. He's really alive. And now you have the entire, there's an entire subsection or subset of internet creatures running around totally knee-deep in conspiracy land over Mitch McConnell's supposed death, which is so ghoulish to begin with. If anyone, if he were, that's for his family to announce. Then you have MTG running around suggesting that McConnell's wife is a Communist Party spy, and she's running around with her own. Oh, man. The Democrats have their problems, but folks, we have some kooks in our party well, not our party, I'm a conservative. I'm not a Republican. Anyway, James Golden, Snerdley, fastest hour in American media continues. Don't go away.
anyone can sell electronics. At Electronics Expo, they do more than sell products. They design, install, and support complete technology solutions. From home theaters and whole home audio to lighting, shades, automation, networking, security cameras, and premium entertainment systems. For over 22 years, they've helped thousands of homeowners experience technology at its very best. See the difference for yourself. Visit their Wayne or Paramus stores in New Jersey or shop now at electronicsexpo.com.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
On the show, and I said there are times when I walk into a community and I see American flags all over the community, and I suddenly feel unsafe because there is a section of this country that has co-opted the American flag, and they equate being an American or an American flag with white supremacy, and that should never be the symbol of white supremacy, but they have weaponized.
Because the flag belongs to all of us.
It does belong to all of us. But those men were wearing a flag.
That's The View, Sonny Hostin. There's not much one can say about The View. There's not much one that I care to say about Sonny Hostin. There are times when I leave my very wealthy house up in Whitelandia, New York. She lives in one of the most exclusive areas in Westchester County. That most people, there are times when I leave my mansion up in Whitelandia, New York, and I walk into other neighborhoods, you know, those blue-collar people, and they have the American flag. And I feel very, very threatened by the American flag. Folks, we are assaulted every day by people online and in the media who demand by these statements that we sort of have sympathy for their absurdities. And the audience sits and claps like trained seals at this kind of remark instead of just collectively finding some way to ask this woman if she's off her rocker. James Golden Snerdley, fastest sound in American media, continues. Keep it right here. Do not go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
A miracle. Nobody thought it was possible. Think of it. Children that are born without money, without any money. Great parents. They can have everything, can be great, but they have no money. They can become very wealthy children at 18, and they can flip it over, or their people can flip it over into other vehicles at a certain age so that they don't take it out. I would recommend they probably don't take it out, but they can have a lot of money, especially if the market continues. Can you imagine if you did this during Trump a year and a half ago, where the market's gone up at levels? As an example, everybody said when I got elected, there's no way that during the 4-year period we'll ever hit 50,000 on the Dow.
And yes, 50,000 on the Dow. Long gone. Way past that now. James Golden Snerdley with you here. Okay. I mentioned the kerfuffle that's happening on the internet with Mitch McConnell. Scott Jennings coming under a lot of heat. He's not the only one who talked with Mitch McConnell. John Thune, Senate leader, Rhino, said that he talked with McConnell yesterday by phone. McConnell then spoke with the Republican whip, John Barrasso from Wyoming. They had a phone. Early this afternoon, they had a phone call. That one went 20 minutes. They caught up on everything, including the main Senate race with Graham Plattner and all the stuff that's happening there, et cetera, et cetera. So it's multiple people that have now said they talked to him, and yet you see these stupid rumors circulating online about him being brain dead and all this garbage from these people that all just clickbait. That's all these people live for, apparently, in my mind. Just somebody notice me, click on my post, regardless of how absurd it is, so that I can get paid from social media. The Trump accounts. I mentioned yesterday that these Trump accounts are going to do a lot for, it is not just newborns. You heard Trump talking about them as we came back from the break. CNN, of all places, did a story on a Cut 9. This is part of the CNN story.
Yeah, Dana, when the free money machine is open and they're giving out $1,000, I think a lot of people want to know, how do I get that? So if you have a child that was born in 2025 or beyond, then you can get this Trump account as long as you're a U.S. citizen and you have a valid Social Security number for your kid. And actually, if you apply for a Social Security number, you can now apply for a Trump account at the same time with the same form. So, what are the rules? How do you get this? Well, you can contribute $5,000 a year, tax-free, tax-deductible investments in a low-cost index fund. That's like the S&P 500. Remember, the S&P 500 made 300% over the past 10 years. That could be a really good investment. But, even if you don't invest in it, it's a pretty good deal, and you can use it for things like college, obviously, because when you're 18, that's one of the places that you're going, but you may not. You might want to use it for your first home. You can even just keep it in your account and use it for retirement. If you use it for something that's not one of these, though, then you do get a 10% penalty, and you have to pay those taxes that I mentioned before. Now, if you do not contribute to this and you just keep $1,000, still, with a 10% return, which is pretty conservative over the past 10 years, look at this. You can still walk away with $5,500 for college or something else like that. Now, that's not going to pay for college. If you do max out your contributions, you're talking about some really serious money, about $250,000 by the time your child is 18, assuming that 10% return. So the question is, how do I get this? Well, of course, it is IRS Form 4547. Why do you think that might be, Dana? And it is the TrumpAccounts.gov, where you can sign up for all of this.
Okay, so that's CNN's report. Let me just say this. People are adding to it in different ways. SpaceX President Gwyneth Shotwell said yesterday she and her husband are donating stock in the newly public company, SpaceX, to Trump accounts for more than 2 million children. So they're going to put stock in that will benefit 2 million children. Their gift will go to kids between the ages of 11 and 17 who live in lower income areas, with a focus on where the couple lives, which is in Central Texas. I mentioned yesterday, I'm going to have to find out more about this, that there are people now who are saying, yeah, it's not, but they want it to be beyond for kids who were born after 2025. And so I think there are some attempts to do that. Then you have, and we covered this briefly yesterday, Bernie Thompson, Mississippi, where the average median income of residents in his district is half that of many other places in America. And so what we're saying, and what I'm saying in so many words, is that they live in a income-challenged district. Let's try to sound like a Democrat instead of saying poll. Income-challenged district. And yet, because of his extreme dislike of Trump, he's saying, oh, no, I'd pass on that. And how dumb is that? You would pass on urging children in one of the lowest, the parents of children, in one of the lowest income districts in the country, from using a program that could allow, if people put the maximum in it, their offspring, their children, to have $250,000, maybe a lot more, depending on where the markets go, have a leg up on life when they turn 18 years old. And can you imagine through compound interest, if that money were left there, If that money were left there from the time they were a kid, you're talking by the time they get in their 40s, most likely these kids would be straight up millionaires and be able to retire, hopefully comfortably. And yet you have people for political reasons saying, no, you should pass on it. No, you shouldn't. This makes sense if people can do it. Now, of course, saving up that kind of money, we're finding, but more and more people are coming on board, more companies are coming on board. We have some long clips we didn't get to this week with Michael Dell and his wife talking about it, so maybe this weekend we'll catch up, maybe with Princess Diana. She has talked about this before, and so maybe we can spend a little bit more time with it. Trump is in Turkey. NATO over there, cut one. This is one of the most noticeable things that he said among
drawdowns in Europe likely, and are you satisfied with the progress that NATO allies have made?
Well, we're going to see. I was very disappointed with NATO, and frankly, if it weren't held in Turkey, where my friend happens to be a very strong leader, a very strong person, it's possible that I wouldn't have attended. I felt I had to attend because of the fact that, I know he's gone all out. It was a big thing to have NATO come to Turkey or any place else. It's a big thing. But we weren't treated well because we did something in Iran. We don't need anybody's help. I didn't even want their help. But before I asked, they said they wouldn't be there. And we've invested trillions of dollars in NATO. Why? To protect European countries and others, Canada, etc., but to protect people, countries from, generally speaking, it used to be the Soviet Union, now it's Russia. And I say that's fine, but you would think that they'd be very willing to do something to help us, and they really weren't. In the case of the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister, I guess he's no longer there, maybe because of this. It was a very unpopular thing he did. He said, no, we'll help after the war is over. I said, I don't need that kind of help. We didn't need any help at all. And in a way, I was testing people. I was testing to see whether or not they'd be there, because I've long said that we helped them, but I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. And Italy turned us down, and Germany turned us down, and France turned us down. And it's okay. But, why are we spending hundreds of billions of dollars and they're not there for us? We've always been there for them.
Now, by the way, there are stories right now. This drawdown is real and it's happening. There was a story, I think it was Wall Street Journal. I'll have to go back and look for it. I didn't print it up. About the European nations right now scrambling to, quote unquote, fill in the gaps, their security gaps. And some of those security gaps include the fact that they don't have equipment on their own that we would consider common for our military, like the fueling system that we use in the air, those fueling aircraft, where you don't have to stop. You can fuel while you're flying. NATO doesn't have a lot of that. We supply that to the NATO alliance, and if we draw down military, there are going to be a lot of gaps that all of a sudden they're going to have to figure out. And they're coming to that realization right now because we are drawing down. Now, we have more on Israel is a little bit. I saw a piece with Netanyahu this afternoon suggesting that we should not lift sanctions on Turkey, which is and send them F-41 fighters, which was a 51. Anyway, the latest fighters to Turkey. Netanyahu's not crazy about that idea. But Donald Trump did say we are taking sanctions off of Turkey, and he called them a friend. That is also causing some upset. We have that. But why spend a minute with him saying it when I can tell you in 20 seconds? Also, he talked about Putin and Zelensky at this. And that, I'm looking at the clock, we do have brief time for cut 5. This is what Trump said about the continuing war between Russia and Ukraine.
I had a very good talk with President Putin, who, by the way, has a lot of respect for President Erdogan, a lot of respect for him. We had a long talk yesterday, it lasted a long time, and I also spoke with President Zelensky right after that. I think they both want to make a deal.
It's too bad it took so long, but I think there's going to be something's going to come out, and the president's also helping us with that. But I think there's something. I settled 8 wars, and I think we're going to be settling. And it doesn't seem likely now, but sometimes with war, I see when it's least likely, that's when it happens. I had a very good talk with President Putin. I had a very good talk I would say, as a combination. A lot of times I'd do well with Putin, and Zelensky would be a problem, or vice versa. Zelensky would be great, and Putin would be. They both want to get it settled now. More than that, that's all I do in my life is deals. I know deals.
He knows deals. By the way, Trump also said that Toyota is moving one of their biggest auto plants out of Mexico into the United States because of what? The tariffs. And they worked. James Golden, Snerdley coming back with the clip of the day. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The clip of the day. You want to hear it. It's the clip of the day.
The clip of the day comes from, I think, one of the most incredible, articulate, reasonable, rational, sane broadcasters in today's media. He hails from Kentucky. His name is Scott Jennings. We circle back to where we started in the beginning of the program on Graham. And Democrats are saying, we need to do a better job vetting. We need to do a better job vetting. Why wasn't he vetted? Scott had the answer.
He had been vetted. All of the things that have been stated, it was all out in the public. And people like Ro Khanna, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Tim Walz, the Bulwark, Pod Save America, all these people came together to overlook it all, to explain it all, to rationalize it all. He was vetted. People knew all these things. And a whole bunch of Democrats in Maine showed up and voted for him anyway. And a bunch of donors from around the country sent him money anyway. I agree with Alyssa's question. What changed? Why are you bailing on Graham Plattner now? You already signed off on Nazi tattoo, a self-described communist, somebody who's had rape fantasies, somebody who has been on a social media platform known as a playground for predators, and on and on and on and on and on. And the difference between this accuser and the previous one is simply this. She's a liberal. It's okay, I guess, for Democrats that their candidates assault conservatives. But he broke into someone's house and apparently, according to her, raped her. And because her politics are correct, they can now believe it. All of this whole thing is disgusting. But to say that they hadn't vetted him or that they didn't know about all this is totally false. They knew it and they signed up for it. And I don't know why they're backing away from this scumbag today when they had already signed off on all that other crazy behavior.
Christine, what do you say?
That is Scott Jennings. It is Richard Starkey's birthday today, ladies and gentlemen. Yep, Richard Starkey, better known to the world as Ringo Starr. Born in 1940. 86 today. Amazing, eh? This, of course, one of his big ones when he went solo. Ringo Starr and the All-Star Band have toured so much around the world, played with so many people, including Todd Rundgren, Peter Frampton, Edgar Winter, Greg Lake. We, of course, wishing Ringo Starr a very, very happy birthday. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your families, and your loved ones. Love and gratitude, my friends, for your being here with me, allowing me to be with you on this, the fastest hour in American media. God willing, we are back tomorrow for Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, the Wednesday edition. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Make this summer unforgettable driving in a Mercedes-Benz from Mercedes-Benz of Edison. Join me Friday, July 10th at 12 noon, where I will be hosting my show live from Mercedes-Benz of Edison. I'm excited to see my friend and GM Doug Wells and the entire staff. Mercedes-Benz of Edison is committed to making your shopping experience stress-free. That's one reason they were named the 2026 Mercedes-Benz Dealer of the Year by Cars.com. Visit Mercedes-Benz of Edison and meet me, Greg Kelly. See you soon.